Thank you very much, Mr. Makeiev, to be here with us today in Paris. I will start with the question: what are your waitings, Ukrainian waitings, for a Western side? What kind of support do you want to have with the West?
Three things. First, use diplomacy. Diplomacy is important. Diplomacy matters. But be prepared that if you expect Russians to use the classical diplomacy or French way of diplomacy, of dignity and respect to the negotiation partner, you will face a diplomacy of a criminal or thugs. They will harass you, they will discourage you, they will try to humiliate you, and they will deceive. So that would be a hard diplomatic talks with Russia. That's what we are facing since the beginning of Russian aggression. Instead of that, be united, speak with one voice. Don't let the Russians to drive a wedge into the European Union and NATO, and integrate Ukrainians into the decision-making process on how to negotiate and what to negotiate with Russia. So this is number one, use diplomacy. Number two, use sanctions. Sanctions is the most important deterrence mechanism to Russians. European and American sanctions hurt Russia more than Russia can admit, hurt Russian economy and deter Russia from further aggression into Ukraine. So use sanctions mechanism, get your packages ready, and if Russia invades or if Russia escalates more, don't wait, use it and introduce new sanctions against Russia. Mean it that this is something serious, because Russia would try to provoke, Russia would try with minor acts, the reaction must follow immediately. And third, arm Ukraine. Ukrainians are today in the trenches. They are not protecting just Ukraine, they're protecting European security architecture. And this is exactly what President Macron said recently. So help Ukrainian army with weapon, with protection, because this is the second most important deterrence mechanism to Russians. Ukrainians are protecting not only its freedom, Ukrainians are not protecting only this our sovereignty. We are using the Article 51 of the UN Charter is the right for self-defense in response to the act of aggression or armed attack. This is exactly what we've been doing for 8 last years. So help us to protect ourselves and the European security architecture.
You are Special Envoy for Sanctions. Can we go into detail? What kind of sanctions do you think could be deterring against Russian aggression and Russian build-up at the moment? Because sometimes in the West you can hear that sanctions don't work. They are not really deterring for Putin, and the shock for Russian economy is quite limited. And the political behavior of Russia didn't change finally.
The sanctions hurt Russia more than they admit. And of course, when we hear discussions within the European societies that sanctions are not working, isn't correct thing. Sanctions hurt Russia. And the fact is that those sanctions that have been introduced back in 2014 and 15, they indeed, Russia can live with it, but still they helped us in stopping further Russian aggression into Ukraine back in the years. But what we are facing right now is a massive build-up, and that Russians are ready to go further if their actions are not met with a resolute response. And those sanctions, that European Union and the United States together packaged that was communicated via diplomatic channels to Russia, and I must say that played a very important role in stopping further Russian advancing.
And what kind exactly, precisely, of sanctions do you think about? The cut-off SWIFT? The problem is that there is a great, it could be the great flag back for Western countries themselves.
Well, of course, that would cost for European countries and the United States. It cannot be like sanctions hurt only Russia. But once again, let's think about it. Are we fine with trading or with dealing Russia as if nothing happened? Are we ready to trade with Russia when they attack European countries? Is this not something which which goes against our beliefs and values? So sanctions is the last peaceful instrument which is on the table. We are fighting. Ukrainians are fighting. Europeans are helping us with the sanctions, and this is a peaceful instrument, the last resort against armed aggression. So please use that peaceful instrument, and we care about protecting eastern borders of Europe, and this is what our soldiers are doing now.
Thank you very much for this discussion.
Thank you.